Hey everybody, Dave Bartosiak here with Zacks Investment Research, and I've got a chart of the day. Today we're going to take a look at Tesla, the electric car company everybody knows and half of you love and half of you hate. Tesla really has two modes. We talked about this last night in the surprise trader write-up. Tesla is either going parabolic or it's chopping itself down. And it just feels like there's no other phase to the way that it works, right? So if you're on board during one of these giant parabolic moves higher, you're always really happy. And they happen a lot, okay? I mean, just like the frequency happens often. So the timing of it is obviously much harder to do. But I did notice here that it occurs in certain instances. So first, you typically get these big run-ups following an earnings report. So you get a nice little earnings beat from Tesla. I suppose you could say this. You get a nice little earnings beat, and then all of a sudden, we're in rally mode. But the thing that's been sort of big picture is when these moves are happening, there's still lower highs, even though they might break, a downward channel the stock was in. There's still this overall sort of downward channel to what's been happening, right? So most recently, we have this move from 140 to 270, which breaks through the top side of this channel here, but it never quite gets to the heights where Tesla was before, right? So obviously the move close to 420 is pretty epic, but then, there's all of these stalls and these lower highs around the way Tesla gets into these channels. So it's a big puff up where perhaps the shorts get out of the way. There's not a lot of people selling. It's just everybody's on board. And then that buying power sort of just gets exhausted. And then this is when the shorts come in, and it feels like they get out of the way when there's a little bit of buying, a little bit of positivity, but inevitably they kind of dump on the stock again. Okay. The most recent sort of news event should be good for Tesla. I mean, there's some protective tariffs that, Canada's put on Chinese EVs. Now, obviously, they don't make Teslas in Canada. They make them here in the U.S. So there's a little bit of negativity with that. Of course, there's another Tesla division in China, but you think that would be good, just sort of a NAFTA protectionist move, but it wasn't. And yesterday you had a 3% down day, and today you're down again. And so I feel like we've had our parabolic run, and now it's that second phase of Tesla where you're going to end up in this downward channel. That's just the vibe I'm getting from the chart. And where do these downward channels end, right? Where's the next parabolic move? Well, back in coming out of the COVID lows, this 200-day moving average really helps the price along, but you haven't had that. It's kind of the opposite, where the 200-day now is overhead resistance versus any kind of support to the downside. So even though we are approaching that 200-day, I'm afraid that it's not going to provide the same amount of support. I think it's going to be more of one of these situations we've had throughout the course of this year. And if you notice, this 200-day is kind of just meandering up and down. There's no real clear move here. 50-day doing the same, just kind of chopping around like a sine wave. So these moves end up extending below the 200-day and well below the 50-day too. So you have your golden cross here with the 50 crossing over to 200 and the stock struggling. So I think another few weeks you get the death cross, so to speak, which we've seen in this a few times, and then and Tesla finds its way maybe into this gap. I wouldn't be surprised if we get that gap. Now, the broad market would have to, I think, have some weakness in order for us to see that. So maybe you're more likely just to chop a little bit lower, rally up above, chop a little bit lower, get back into that choppy sort of downside action until the next catalyst comes in, and then Tesla can make a move higher. So obviously this is going to be dependent on earnings, depending on what's happening over there. Are we getting any further on the robo-taxis? Is there some sort of catalyst that's going to come up over the next couple of quarters that's really going to help Tesla along, help it get into one of those modes where it's in that parabolic rally higher versus now this slow and steady sort of chop down. All right, folks, that's all I have for you here with my chart of the day. Be sure to check me out on Twitter at Bartosiak. Follow the author here. Follow the YouTube channel so you can check out all the new videos that we have coming out, and I'm going to start doing these a lot more often. So for everybody here at Zacks.com, I want to say thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow.